The word terrorism is alarming, but I'm not justifying extremes such as murder or bombing, which would be a backward step for a movement where protecting life is its reason for being. In this case, environmental terrorism is taken to mean the act of extreme or unlawful activism for the sake of our collapsing environments and the species that inhabit them. I'd like to prove to you why unlawful action, such as violence against corporate entities or sabotage in the name of the environment, such as the acts of the Earth Liberation Front, is absolutely justified after ignorance for so long. The birth of the environmentalist movement we know today owes itself to a woman called Rachel Carson. During the 1950s in America, concerns were raised over nuclear testing, especially the unknown effect it has on the environment. At this time, people hadn't even begun to understand how fragile nature is, and more importantly, how much we rely on it. Rachel Carson, with a degree in biology, became concerned about the death of birds in an area that had been sprayed by the insecticide called DDT. She felt that she would never be able to enjoy birdsong if she had not done anything to solve this mystery. From there, she did research into how pollutants damage nature and eventually come to harm us. This study included the effects of nuclear testing, and her research resulted in the book Silent Spring and outlined the detrimental effects if these processes did not halt immediately. This book was met with enormous public interest, yet the reaction of the people that mattered was nothing but a disappointment. Those who stood to be undermined or lose money from her book sought to immediately discredit her work and ultimately shut her up. A Dr. William Darby wrote a review of the book entitled it "Silence, Miss Carson," saying, in view of her scientific qualifications in contrast to those of our distinguished scientific leaders, this book should be ignored. Others claimed she was a hysterical woman. Miss Carson alone was not listened to by the people that could have immediately implemented change. This is the first example of many where voices of concern have not been listened to. I've come to know that climate change is a poor person's problem, a problem that is caused by the richest people in the world. As CO2 emissions increase, so do natural disasters like hurricanes, tsunamis, landslides, and so on. Are you aware that these events have the greatest impact on poor populations in third world countries due to their living situations and the geography of their cities and towns? The Internal Displacement Monitoring Centre says that every year since 2008, an average of 26.4 million people around the world have been forcibly displaced by natural disasters, with one person being displaced every second. The International Organization for Migration estimates that there could be as many as 200 million environmental refugees by 2050. Just take a look at the wildfires in California. Kim Kardashian paid for firefighters to quench fires around her property. And statistics show that in Malibu, California, residents were rescued by yacht, and the average house price there was above $3 million. In Paradise, California, however, many died trying to escape on foot, and the average house price was $200,000. The status quo for the environmentalist movement of today has become inadequate. For example, although Greta Thunberg has paved the way for climate awareness and school strikes, how much of a threat is she to corporate entities and political leaders? Does she pose a threat to their money? Peaceful protests simply do not threaten the livelihood of these corporations. Mainstream climate change activists are calling for consumers to take individual action against corporation, but the idea that we can change our planet's destructive path by purchasing metal straws and keep cups and adopting a vegan diet, that's flawed. Certainly every little bit helps, but simply not enough. Our economy is built off of environmental degradation. Putting pressure on citizens will not facilitate a change big enough to reverse the damage. In Copenhagen, 2009, 60,000 activists gathered to rally for change in the International Climate Agreement. This resulted in no breakthrough. 2016, the protests against the Dakota Pipeline should have been an eye-opener for every oil company in the world, but their money-hungry eyes just look the other way. Indigenous people put their life on the line by laying over the pipe. Vulnerable people simply aren't listened to by large industries unless an unlawful act is taking place. Take a look at the Paris Climate Agreement in 2016, as Alex previously mentioned, where its purpose was to keep global warming in a 1.5 to 2 degree limit by 2030. A report in 2017 saw that the major industrialized nations weren't implementing the policies that they had agreed upon. Another fact I might mention is that the plan the Paris Agreement drew up will result in a global warming well over 2 degrees, actually 3 degrees. Never mind that even a 1.5 degree increase would cause significant changes to our climate that we know now. This is action coming from the highest level, and that's all they've got. Threats up until now haven't been heard. In an ideal world, we wouldn't have to go to such extreme measures, but it's only logical that environmental terrorism is our next step. Do you see Kim Kardashian addressing the issue in a new Instagram post? Do you see Charles Koch losing sleep over the mass amount of greenhouse gases his oil companies pump into the air daily? No, because it doesn't concern them. Kim, Charles, and all the politicians and business owners profiting off of environmental degradation can continue using their private jets, knowing that if a breaking point came along, they can pay for their safety and comfort, whereas the poor are left, at best, with their houses and belongings destroyed. Ask yourself if you think they're listening to our concerns. Has there been any evidence of reversing the signs of climate change? If so, then why am I standing here? What or who will they listen to? Because it's certainly not your average working class metal straw user. Finally, may I mention the word justified in tonight's debate motion, meaning having a legitimate reason. Is the destruction of life as we know it not reason enough? Is a lack of response and concern not reason enough? To save our planet, the entire infrastructure of how we live our lives needs to change. This means radical action. This means environmental terrorism. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the